Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, who, when she got in 2019, cleaned house. She fired the entire Flint water investigation team that had charged, to that point, 15 state and city officials. She filed a special prosecutor. She fired the chief investigator, who was a former head of the FBI in Detroit, by the way, fired the whole team. The reasons they gave were kind of basically, well, they fucked up, even though by everything I have reported and found, they did a competent job and were building a case. My reporting indicates the original prosecution team, before Attorney General fired them, were building a case against Governor Rick Snyder for involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
Yet Dana Nessel, the current Attorney General, fired that special prosecutor, fired his team, and a year and a half later ended up charging Governor Snyder with a misdemeanor.
$1,000.
Importantly enough, that first investigation team, Melissa, had charged state and city officials with bond fraud, with financial fraud crimes related to that pipeline we were just talking about, which, again, the deal to get Flint onto that totally unnecessary water pipeline was allegedly based on bond. I use the term allegedly. It was bond fraud. I mean, it's just, it was.
It was a fraudulent fake environmental emergency that could trigger those bonds being released. And yeah, it was fake. It was false.
Right. So again, first investigation, they're gunning for involuntary manslaughter. I reported that. And two other Michigan reporters confirmed that independently, said, yeah, our reporting, the first team was building a case towards involuntary manslaughter. You're talking, that's one of the highest crimes, and it would have been against the governor of Michigan.
A real crime.
So she charges him with a misdemeanor. Then she drops all the financial charges that first investigation charged. She recharges those same officials that had been charged with the financial crimes, doesn't recharge them with the financial crimes. Nope. So it seems like the financial fraud has just been buried, because the previous investigation were charging financial bond fraud. This Attorney General, nothing. And I would like to ask you, why do you think that is? Because I got a couple $100 million, couple $100 million reasons I could think of why the current Attorney General of Michigan would bury the financial fraud charges that the previous investigation had charged, not recharge those same officials with financial fraud, and not actually charge any new officials with financial crimes.
She's got all the evidence she needed. If she wanted to come in here like, guns blazing and stuff, she could have, because she promised, justice for Flint. She could have torn up that KWA contract and released everybody from it. But gee, that would really piss off Wall Street now, wouldn't it? So that's who we got to protect, obviously, not the residents of Flint or the residents of Michigan, the people that are drinking this water, which, by the way, has been hit repeatedly with violations for not having enough corrosion control.
Right. So, and also, I mean, I don't know. I didn't go to, I dropped out of economics class, but I could tell you the state of Michigan signed off on this fraudulent bond deal. The state of Michigan was the one who signed the deal. So I don't know if a fraudulent bond deal that led to the poisoning of a city, because that's what happened. Flint wouldn't have been using the Flint River if not for this KW. So if those charges that she dropped went forward in criminal court, JP Morgan wrote the bonds. Wells Fargo wrote the bonds. You got heavy duty investors own these bonds. I don't know. I'm not on Wall Street. From what I've been told by a lot of sources I trust, the state of Michigan the liability could be on the hook for hundreds of millions of dollars. If
we would be getting far more than, $600 million from the state of Michigan if that were the case.
Yeah. But also the bondholders could sue the state of Michigan.
Big time.
The bondholders could want their money back, and it would be Dana Nessel and, frankly, Gretchen Whitmer holding the bag. So there's a lot, we hear a lot of Flint residents, I think rightly so. Snyder was out a few years ago. A Democratic governor comes in. A Democratic attorney general comes in. They throw a lot of language about, we're fighting for justice. Don't worry that we just dropped all the charges. Don't worry that we just fired the whole team that had built the case. Justice delayed.
That we're heading to trial for manslaughter. Right. Yeah. No.
And meanwhile, and I promise we're getting to the settlement, people might not know, I mean, Snyder and all these other defendants, as we speak, are in court trying to get the charges dismissed based on what it appears to be the current Flint prosecution, which the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, says she's not in charge of, but it's under her watch. It's her Attorney General's office, that they, I don't know, released information that shouldn't have been released, that they
filed in the wrong courts.
Filed in the wrong courts, that they used attorney-client privilege documents that should have been confidential. So they fired the first investigation that was building towards involuntary manslaughter. And from what it appears, Melissa, have set up possibly Snyder getting off on a technicality.
Yeah, getting off from $1,000 fine, a 1 penny, 1 cent per person he poisoned, you know, with his policies and signing off on all of these really wretched, you know, fraudulent deals. Again, you know, I have to correct, you know, the media and anybody else who says, oh no, Flint switched to the Flint River because they were broke and they couldn't afford. If we were so broke, how did we pay the hundreds of millions of dollars for this stupid pipeline that we didn't ask for and didn't want? If we were so broke, why would you have us on there in the first place? Oh yeah, because we're not. You, like, the state drained us through emergency management and through stopping revenue sharing and all the things they could do to bankrupt us so we would be in the hands of the state. But the water crisis busted out and stopped that bankruptcy process, because that's what happened in Detroit. So, you know, we would be next in line, you know, the next biggest city. And then also getting us on these regionalized pipelines, no longer, you know, under a municipality, a little bit weaker rules. You don't really have the people to call back on because now you're answering to a corporation. Yeah, well, we didn't want that. We fought against it. And then, of course, they got that mayor out who stood with us on that and said, no, the people don't want that and it's not safe, you know. And now we're on it. And the people that forced us on it are getting away scot-free. Yeah. Rick Snyder, to his hearings, his suits are more than the fine he's proposed to get. And, you know, so we're just sitting here like, are you serious? And the fact that she got rid, you know, Dana Nessel got rid of, the Attorney General got rid of the amazing investigators and, you know, prosecutors that were doing the work and moving forward, and put a lady as, who has never gone to trial for a criminal case. I asked this question and got screamed at in public. But yeah, and another one who had already been in trouble for planting evidence, putting innocent people behind bars. But then if you look at the staff list, she's not even listed as a staff member. Now she says, you know, she's like, oh no, I'm just consulting. Who's actually running the show? Because it's garbage. And the fact that you're getting, I'm not even an attorney, but I've sat in enough hearings and I have enough attorneys to know, like, I could do a better job at this point. I wouldn't file in the wrong court, like, to begin with. And then also I wouldn't use privileged documents. I mean, this is common sense stuff, and it's so embarrassing. And then we're just watching, like, the whole thing. That's why part of us are slightly happy about the settlement, because the state could have weaseled out of that too. They could have gotten out of that like they are, and then people would have gotten away completely scot-free, because nobody's sitting behind bars for poisoning 100,000 people and letting countless people die. And the fact that the previous special prosecutor had dug up the deaths of, I don't know, a few hundred people, because they like to say 12 people died from Legionnaires or 14 people died from Legionnaires. But actually looking at the death certificates during that same time period, I think it was a 340% increase in bacterial pneumonia deaths.
Right.
Which
you know, the thing that's crazy, you know, not that any investigation is perfect. You know, the first investigation that Nessel got rid of, I'm sure there were issues with, but we saw it. This fucking wire. Hold on one second. We saw it in real time in court. Whereas Dana Nessel, the current Attorney General, her team, it's all a secretive one-man grand jury process. We have no idea. We have no idea what. Hold on. We have no idea what evidence that they provided to the one-man grand jury.
Right.
No idea at all. We have no idea. The reporting that I have done and Jen did with me, where we found Snyder's phone calls that the original prosecution found to show he was covering up the Legionnaire's disease. He knew about this deadly waterborne bacteria. We found documents that he was covering it up. Prosecutors concluded that. We have no idea if this current prosecution team even presented that to the judge. The last story we did in July, we found evidence that Snyder's top officials deleted their phones Literally, literally like crime movie shit. Deleted their phones right before the launch of an investigation. Totally wiped out their text messages for all of 2014 and most of 2015. I don't know, the very 18-month period Flint used the Flint River. Their messages are completely gone.
Oops.
All of this, we don't even know if Nestle's team presented that to a judge. We have no idea. We have no idea because she dropped charges that the previous investigation charged about financial fraud. When she recharged those same officials that had been charged with financial fraud, when she recharged them, she didn't recharge them. The financial fraud charges were gone. Why is that? How does one investigation find financial fraud? I'm not going to go into detail, but I know they were going to charge much more severe financial crimes. How does this one not? Something smells in Denmark. Something's not right in Denmark, in Flint, Michigan, because the Democratic Attorney General, and let's not pretend that Whitmer has nothing to do with any of this. We have a misdemeanor charge against Snyder, which he might get off. There's a whole lot of other officials that I have not seen charged that we broke in July, erased their phones.
Yep.
That's called destruction of evidence.
Right.
So it just seems to me with this settlement, this is what they want justice to be, that people are going to get money. And in terms of actual criminal prosecution, jail time, maybe they'll have a sacrificial lamb or two. It's not going to be the governor.
Maybe.
It's not going to be the governor. They're not going anywhere near the real crime here, which was the financial scam that led to people dying, that's leading to people slowly dying. And now the settlement,